Josiah Brennan pressed his dead daughter's doll against his chest and wept. 4 years. 4 years since the fire took everything. He set the table for one same plate, same silence, same punishment he deserved. Then came the knock. Desperate, weak. A woman's voice cracked through the howling wind. "Please, my children are dying." He didn't answer. Hadn't answered anyone in 4 years. But when he heard 9 small voices crying in the blizzard, his hand moved to the door before his mind could stop it. Subscribe now and follow this story to the very end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this tale travels. The doll's button eyes stared up at Josiah Brennan the way they had for 4 years. Lily's doll, his baby girl's only treasure. He set it back on the kitchen shelf. Same spot. Same ritual. Same knife twisting in his chest every single evening. The table held 1 plate, 1 fork, 1 glass of water. He'd stopped setting places for Ruth and Lily after year 2. Couldn't bear seeing the empty chairs anymore. "Just you and me tonight, sweetheart," he muttered to the doll. Same as always. The wind screamed outside. December in Wyoming didn't forgive, didn't forget. Just like Josiah. He bowed his head over his cold supper. "Lord, 3 knocks. His hand froze halfway to his fork. Nobody came here, not anymore. Doc Whitmore stopped checking on him after year 1. Pastor Brooks stopped bringing scripture after year 2. The townsfolk crossed the street when they saw him coming. That suited Josiah just fine. More knocking. Harder. Desperate. "Go away," he said to the empty room. But then he heard it. Children crying. Not 1 child. Not 2. A chorus of thin, desperate wails cutting through the storm like knives through butter. His boots hit the floor before he could think. His hand found the door handle before he could stop himself. "Don't open it. Don't let anyone in. You know what happens when you let people in." He pulled the door anyway. The wind hit him first. Bitter Wyoming cold that cut straight to bone. Snow swirled in, stinging his face raw. Then he saw them. A woman stood on his porch. Gaunt, hollow-cheeked. Her dress hung loose on a frame that had known too much hunger for too long. Behind her, pressed against the howling wind, Josiah counted once. Counted twice. 9 children. 9. The oldest was maybe 14, a boy, trying to stand tall despite shivering so hard his teeth rattled. The youngest couldn't be more than 2, wrapped in rags and clutched against the woman's chest. Between them, 7 more. All girls, all hollow-eyed, all staring at him like he held their lives in his hands. Because he did. "Please," the woman's voice cracked. "Please, sir. My children haven't eaten in 4 days. We've been walking since—" She swayed. The oldest boy grabbed her arm. Ma, hold on." "I'm fine, Samuel. I'm fine." She wasn't fine. Josiah could see death hovering around all of them. Another hour in this cold, and he'd be burying strangers come morning. "Please," the woman whispered again. "Anything you can spare. A crust of bread. Some water. Then we'll go. I swear it." One of the middle girls, maybe 7 or 8, tugged at her mother's frozen skirt. "Mama, I can't feel my feet anymore." "I know, baby. I know. Hush now." "But they hurt Mama. They hurt so bad." The woman's composure cracked. Just for a second. Just enough for Josiah to see the terror underneath. "Get inside." The words came out rough. Unused to kindness. Rusty from 4 years of silence. The woman stared at him. Disbelief written across every line of her face. "Sir, I said get inside." Josiah stepped back, held the door wide. "All of you, now, before you freeze to death on my porch." The woman hesitated. Pride and desperation warred in her eyes. The oldest boy made the decision for her. He pushed past, half carrying a younger sister who couldn't walk anymore. The others followed. Single file. Silent. careful, like ghosts afraid to take up space. The woman came last, the baby still pressed to her chest. She stopped just inside the doorway, looked around. Tears spilled down her frozen cheeks. "It's warm," she breathed. "Oh God, it's so warm." Josiah shut the door against the storm. 11 people now stood in his silent house. 10 strangers and one broken man who hadn't spoken more than 20 words to anyone in 4 years. He'd made a mistake. He knew it already. But the littlest girl, maybe 4 years old, looked up at him with green eyes. Pale green, like spring leaves. Ruth's eyes, his dead wife's eyes staring at him from a stranger's face, his chest cracked open. "Kitchen," he said gruffly. "This way, there's food." They followed him like lost ducklings. The mother first, then the children by height. The oldest boy brought up the rear, still supporting his stumbling sister. In the kitchen, Josiah pulled out chairs. His hands moved automatically, setting places at the table. 10 places. The wood creaked. These chairs hadn't been used since Ruth and Lily. He added food. Venison from yesterday's hunt. Bread he'd baked himself. Butter. Milk. Potatoes. The children stood frozen, staring at the feast like they'd never seen so much food in their lives. "Sit," Josiah said. They sat. The 7-year-old, the one with hurting feet, reached for the bread with shaking hands. Then stopped. Looked at her mother. "Can I, Mama, really?" The woman's face crumpled. She pressed her fist to her mouth. Nodded. They fell on the food. The mother tried to slow them down. "Mind your manners, children. Small bites. You'll make yourselves sick." But her own hands trembled as she broke bread for the baby. Her own eyes stayed fixed on the food like she couldn't believe it was real. Josiah stood by the stove, watching. Something twisting behind his ribs. The oldest boy ate with careful precision, cutting his meat into small pieces, chewing thoroughly, being proper even while starving, protecting his dignity even when he had nothing else left. The middle children had no such restraint. They stuffed bread into their mouths, barely chewing, desperate, and the little one with Ruth's eyes, she held her cup of milk with both hands, drinking like she'd never tasted anything so wonderful. "What's your name?" Josiah heard himself ask the question before he could stop it. The woman looked up, startled, like she'd forgotten he was there. "Emma," she said quietly. "Emma Sullivan." She touched each child's shoulder as she named them. "This is Samuel, my oldest. He's 14. Then there's Martha 12, Hannah 10, Sarah 8, Rebecca 7, Rachel 5, Leah 4, Miriam 2, and the baby is Ruth." Ruth. Of course the baby's name was Ruth. Josiah turned away, busied himself at the stove, didn't trust his face. "You got a husband somewhere?" His voice came out harder than he intended. "Someone who should be keeping you fed." Silence. Then Emma's voice, quiet and steady. "He's dead. Mining accident, 8 months ago." "Family. None that want us." Josiah turned back. "How'd you end up on my porch in a blizzard with 9 children?" Emma met his eyes. Something fierce burned in her gaze despite her exhaustion. "Our wagon broke down 6 miles back. Axle snapped clean through. Our horse died in the cold. We've been walking since noon. In this weather, with 9 young'uns. Didn't have much choice, did I?" Emma's chin lifted. "It was walk or freeze where we stood." Samuel spoke up. His voice was too old for 14. "Ma said we'd find shelter before nightfall. She promised." The accusation was clear. Ma had promised. And Ma had almost gotten them all killed. Emma's face tightened. "And we did find shelter, Samuel. We're here." "We almost died." Martha's voice was flat, cold. "Miriam stopped shivering an hour ago. Rebecca can't feel her feet. If this man hadn't—" "Martha, that's enough." The 12-year-old fell silent. but her eyes burned with a fury that had nothing to do with Josiah. He looked at Rebecca, the 7-year-old with the hurting feet. "Let me see." She hesitated, glanced at her mother. "Show him," Emma said quietly. "Please, sweetheart." The girl lifted her feet. Josiah knelt examining them with practiced hands. The skin was red, angry, early frostbite. Another hour in that cold, and she'd have lost toes. "I've got salve," he said gruffly, "and clean socks. You'll be fine." Rebecca's lower lip trembled. "Thank you, mister." She paused. "What's your name?" Josiah stood, moved to the cabinet for the salve. "Brennan. Josiah Brennan." "Thank you, Mr. Brennan." He grunted, knelt again to apply the salve with gentle hands. Hands that remembered doing this for Lily when she'd played too long in the snow. Hands that remembered too much. "You're nice." The voice came from beside him. Small, clear, certain. Josiah looked up. Leah, the 4-year-old with Ruth's eyes, had slipped off her chair. She stood next to him now, watching him tend her sister's feet. "You don't smile," she observed. "But you're nice anyway. Mama says sometimes the nicest people forget how to smile." The kitchen went silent. Emma started to apologize. "Leah, honey, that's not—" "It's fine." Josiah finished with Rebecca's feet, stood up, looked at the little girl with his dead wife's eyes. "Yeah, I reckon I did forget." Leah nodded solemnly. "That's sad. Smiling feels good." She paused, considering. "I can teach you if you want. I'm real good at smiling." Something burned behind Josiah's eyes. "Maybe someday, little miss." He turned away, started cleaning up, needed something to do with his hands. The storm outside had intensified. Wind shrieked around the corners of the house, snow piled against the windows. "Storm's getting worse," he said without turning around. "Roads won't be passable till morning, maybe longer." Emma's chair scraped back. "We can't impose. You ain't imposing." Still not looking at her. "I'm telling you how it is. You leave now you die. All of you. Simple as that." "We could find the barn." I said no. He turned then, met her eyes. "I've got spare rooms, beds that ain't been slept in for years. You and your children will use them tonight." Emma's chin lifted, that fierce pride again. "I don't need charity, Mr. Brennan." "It ain't charity. It's common decency, something I've been short on for a while now." He wiped his hands on a cloth. "You can pay me back by helping with chores tomorrow if it eases your conscience. But tonight you sleep under a roof, in real beds, with full bellies. That's final." They stared at each other. Two stubborn people. Two people who'd learned the hard way what it meant to rely on others. Samuel broke the standoff. "Ma, please." His voice cracked. The 14-year-old who'd been trying so hard to be a man suddenly sounded like the boy he still was. "The little ones are exhausted. Miriam needs warmth. Rebecca's feet." Emma's resistance crumbled. "All right," she whispered. "All right, just for tonight." Josiah nodded. "I'll show you the rooms." He led them upstairs. Every step felt strange. He hadn't climbed these stairs in 4 years. Hadn't been able to face the empty bedrooms. He pushed open the first door. "2 beds in here. Older children can share." The second door. 3 beds, middle ones. The third door. Josiah's hand trembled on the handle. This had been Lily's room. Her small bed still sat against the wall. Her drawings still hung above it. Her presence still lingered in every corner. "The little ones can sleep here," he said roughly. "And 1 more down the hall for you, Mrs. Sullivan." Emma peered past him into Lily's room. Her face softened. "This was your daughter's room." It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am." "Mr. Brennan, we can't—" "She's gone." The words scraped out like broken glass. "Been gone 4 years. Room's just been sitting here, gathering dust, gathering ghosts. He stepped back from the doorway. She'd want children sleeping in there again. I know she would. Emma's eyes shimmered. What was her name? Lily. That's beautiful. She was beautiful. Josiah's voice dropped to almost nothing. She was everything. Silence stretched between them. Then Emma reached out, touched his arm, brief, light. A gesture of understanding from one broken person to another. Thank you, she said softly. For all of this. You have no idea what this means. Josiah looked away. Get some rest, Mrs. Sullivan. We'll figure out the rest come morning. He walked away before she could ask anything else. Downstairs, Josiah sat at the kitchen table. Same chair. But tonight, dishes from 11 people sat in his sink. Muddy bootprints marked his floor. Voices echoed overhead. Emma, getting the children settled, murmured good nights, the creak of bed springs. His house was full of strangers. He should hate it. But sitting there in the lamplight, listening to a child's giggle drift down from upstairs, Josiah felt something he hadn't felt in 4 years. He didn't have a name for it, didn't want to. He picked up Lily's doll from the shelf, held it against his chest the way he did every night. I don't know what I'm doing, he said to the empty room, to Lily, to Ruth, to whoever might be listening. I don't know what I'm doing. No answer came. But upstairs, little Leah started singing a nonsense song. Half words and made-up melodies, the way children sang when they felt safe enough to make noise. Josiah closed his eyes. For the first time in 4 years, his house didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like something else. Something he wasn't ready to name. An hour later, footsteps on the stairs. Josiah looked up from the fire he'd been staring into. Emma appeared in the doorway. Hair loose around her shoulders, face scrubbed clean of road dust and desperation. She was pretty, he realized. The thought hit him like a sucker punch. He shoved it away. Children asleep. Emma nodded. Took a while. Miriam had nightmares. Samuel wouldn't stop pacing, but they're resting now. She moved into the kitchen, sat down across from him, left a respectful distance between them. Mr. Brennan, I need to tell you something. You don't owe me your story, Mrs. Sullivan. I think I do. Emma's hands folded on the table. You took us in. You deserve to know what you've gotten yourself into. Josiah waited. My husband Thomas didn't die in a mining accident. Her voice hardened. His brother killed him. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm raged. His name is Marcus Sullivan. He wanted the mining shares Thomas owned. When Thomas wouldn't sell, Marcus arranged an accident. Emma's eyes burned with cold fury. Everyone believed it. Everyone except me. You have proof. I have Thomas's journal. He suspected Marcus, wrote everything down, dates, conversations, threats. Emma paused. Marcus knows I have it. That's why we've been running. Josiah's jaw tightened. He's after you. He's after my children. If he controls them, he controls the inheritance, the shares, everything Thomas built. Where is he now? I don't know, but he'll find us. Emma's voice dropped. He always finds us. We've been running for 3 months. He's tracked us through 4 towns. He has money, lawyers, men who do what he pays them to do. She looked at Josiah. I shouldn't have knocked on your door. I've put you in danger just by being here. Josiah stared at her. This woman who'd walked through fire and kept walking. Who'd dragged 9 children through a blizzard rather than let a murderer take them. How long since you've eaten? Emma blinked. What? You fed your children tonight. Watched every bite go into their mouths. But I didn't see you eat a thing. Her face crumpled. Just for a second. Just enough to show the exhaustion underneath. I'm fine. You're starving yourself to keep them alive. That's what mothers do, Mr. Brennan. That's what mothers do when there's no one else. Josiah stood, crossed to the stove, started heating leftover stew. You've got someone else now, even if it's just for one night. He set a bowl in front of her. Eat. Emma stared at the food, then at him. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Helping us. You clearly don't want us here. I can see it in your face every time you look at us. So why? Josiah sat down across from her, one hand on the table, close to hers but not touching. Because I had a wife once, and a daughter. They were everything to me. His voice roughened. They died in a fire 4 years ago this spring. While I was out on patrol, I was a Texas Ranger then, spent my nights protecting strangers while my family burned. Emma's breath caught. I'm so sorry. I hunted the men who set the fire, found every last one. Josiah's eyes went cold. But it didn't bring them back, just left me empty with blood on my hands and nothing to live for. So you came here. Bought this place with my savings, built a life that didn't include anyone else. He looked at her. Figured if I didn't let nobody close, I couldn't lose nobody again. Has it worked? Josiah met her eyes. What do you think? Emma was quiet for a long moment. I think you're still breathing, she said finally. But I'm not sure you've been living. The observation hit too close. Way too close. You don't know me. No, but I know grief. Emma leaned forward slightly. I know what it does to a person, how it eats you alive from the inside if you let it. What do you do instead? You fight. Her voice hardened with the same steel he'd heard before. You fight because people need you to. Because giving up isn't an option when 9 children are counting on you to keep them alive. Josiah studied her, this woman with iron in her spine and fire in her eyes. Your husband was a fool. Emma blinked. Excuse me? Not for dying, for not protecting you better, for not seeing the snake his brother was, for leaving you alone to fight his battles. Anger flashed across Emma's face. Thomas was a good man. I'm sure he was, but good men fail too. Josiah's voice dropped. I should know. I was one of them. The fire crackled between them. Get some sleep, Mrs. Sullivan. He stood. Storm should pass by morning. We'll figure out what comes next then. Emma rose, started toward the stairs, then stopped. Mr. Brennan. He looked up. Whatever you're punishing yourself for? Her voice was soft, almost tender. I hope someday you can stop. She was gone before he could respond. Josiah sat alone in the firelight. 11 people slept upstairs. 10 strangers and his own ghosts filling spaces that had been empty too long. He picked up Lily's doll again, held it against his heart. I don't know what I'm doing, sweetheart, he whispered. But that woman's got 9 children and a killer chasing her, and I can't. He stopped, breathed. I can't watch more children die. I just can't. The doll stared back at him with button eyes that held no judgment. Outside, the storm raged on. But somewhere in the howling wind, Josiah could have sworn he heard Ruth's voice. Stop hiding, Joe. It's time to live. He sat there until the fire burned low. Then he climbed the stairs to bed. And for the first time in 4 years, he slept without nightmares. Josiah woke to a sound he hadn't heard in 4 years, children's laughter. He lay still in his bed, heart pounding against his ribs. For one cruel moment, he thought it was Lily. Thought the nightmare had ended. Thought his baby girl was alive, running through the house the way she used to on winter mornings. Then reality crashed back. He sat up, breath ragged. The laughter came from downstairs. High and clear, real, not his child, never his child again. His boots hit the floor. His shirt went on wrong the first time. He didn't care. Part of him wanted to stay in this room forever. Part of him needed to see who was making that sound in his silent house. He descended the stairs. The kitchen stopped him cold. Emma stood at his stove, stirring something in a pot. She'd found his coffee, his flour, his eggs. The smell of breakfast filled the room. Bacon, biscuits, something that might have been happiness. Samuel sat at the table, reading one of Ruth's old books, the ones Josiah had packed away and tried to forget. Martha stood at the counter, helping her mother, her face still guarded, still angry, but her hands moved with practiced efficiency, and the little ones Josiah's chest seized. Leah knelt on the floor near the fireplace, playing with something in her hands. Lily's doll, the one he'd held against his chest last night, the one his daughter had carried everywhere, slept with every night, clutched in her small hands, even as the fever took her, even as the smoke. "Is this yours, Mr. Brennan?" Leah looked up at him, holding the doll with careful reverence, those green eyes bright, curious, innocent of the weight that little toy carried. "It was my daughter's." The words scraped out like broken glass. Leah's face fell. She started to put it back on the shelf. Lily. Josiah heard himself say the name. First time in 4 years he'd spoken it aloud. Her name was Lily. She was 6 when she... He couldn't finish. Emma turned from the stove. Understanding flooded her face. "Leah, sweetheart, put that back where you found it." "No." The word surprised Josiah as much as anyone. "It's fine." His voice came out rough, broken. "It's just gathering dust up there. Lily would have wanted it played with. She always said dolls got lonely when nobody held them." Leah's whole face lit up. "Really? You're sure?" "I'm sure, little miss." She made the doll dance across the floor, adding sound effects under her breath. Alive, joyful. Everything this house hadn't been for 4 long years. Rachel appeared in the doorway, 5 years old, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Her hair stuck up in wild tangles. She spotted Josiah, and her face broke into a smile. "Mr. Horseman, you're still here." "I live here, little one." "I know, but sometimes people leave." Rachel padded over to him in bare feet, reached up with both arms. "Can I have up?" Josiah stared at her outstretched arms. Lily used to do the same thing. Every morning, arms up, demanding to be held, trusting completely that he would catch her. His hands moved before his mind could stop them. He lifted Rachel onto his hip. She weighed almost nothing, bird bones and wild hair in complete, terrifying trust. "You're warm," Rachel announced. She patted his cheek with one small hand. "And scratchy. Papa was scratchy too. Mama said it's because men forget to shave." "Rachel." Emma's voice held a warning. "It's true you said it. Some things we think and don't say out loud, sweetheart." "Why?" Emma sighed. Met Josiah's eyes over her daughter's head, apology written in every line of her face. "I'm sorry. She doesn't have much filter." "I noticed." But Josiah's voice had no edge to it. Rachel's weight on his hip felt strange, foreign, and achingly right. "Reckon I have been forgetting to shave." Rachel beamed at him. "See, Mama? He doesn't mind." Josiah set her down gently. "Breakfast smells good." Emma turned back to the stove. "I hope you don't mind. I couldn't sleep and I'm not one for sitting idle. Figured I could earn our keep. At least a little." "You don't owe me anything." "I know, but I wanted to." She glanced at him. "That's different." Martha hadn't looked up from her work, but Josiah noticed the rigid set of her shoulders, the way she sliced bread with more force than necessary. He pulled out a chair across from Samuel. "That was my wife's favorite." Samuel's hand stilled on the page. Little Women. She must have read it a dozen times. Josiah leaned back. "Always said she wanted our Ruth to read it someday. That was going to be her name. Ruth. If we'd had another daughter." Samuel finally looked at him, eyes guarded, suspicious. "Did you have other children?" "Just Lily. She was 6 when..." Josiah stopped, breathed. "When the fire took them both." Something flickered in Samuel's face. The suspicion cracked. Just slightly. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Ma told us not to ask about the empty rooms. Said it wasn't our business." "Your ma is a smart woman." Josiah's voice dropped. "But I don't mind. Gets lonely. Not talking about them. Like they never existed at all." Samuel considered this. What was she like, your daughter? The question hit Josiah in the chest. No one had asked him that. Not once in 4 years. People offered condolences. Sorry for your loss. Terrible tragedy. Time heals all wounds. No one asked what Lily had been like. She was wild. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Laughed at everything. Thought the world was one big adventure waiting to happen. She'd follow me around the ranch all day, asking questions, always asking questions. His voice roughened. She wanted to be a horse doctor when she grew up. Said regular doctors only helped people, but horse doctors helped horses and people. She had it all figured out. 6 years old, and she had her whole life planned. Samuel was quiet for a moment. She sounds like Leah. Josiah looked at the 4-year-old playing on the floor. Those green eyes. That fearless curiosity. Yeah, he said softly. Yeah, she does. Emma set plates on the table. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't speak. Thank you for telling me, Samuel said quietly. Sometimes grown-ups act like dead people never lived at all. Like if they don't talk about them, the missing hurts less. Does it? No. Samuel's voice was matter-of-fact. It just makes you feel alone with the missing. Josiah looked at this 14-year-old boy who spoke like he'd lived 100 years. You're too young to know things like that. I know. Samuel shrugged. But here we are. The other children filtered down for breakfast. One by one. Sarah and Rebecca. Hannah. Miriam, still drowsy, carried by Martha. Baby Ruth fussing until Emma fed her. Within minutes, Josiah found himself surrounded. Leah claimed the seat on his left. Rachel demanded the one on his right. The others filled in around the table until every chair held a child. 10 places, all full. Emma served the food, set a plate in front of each person. When she reached Josiah, their eyes met. Thank you, she said quietly, for telling Samuel about Lily. He's been carrying his own grief so long. Helps to know he's not alone in it. Josiah didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. They ate together, 11 people at a table built for 12. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full of small sounds. Forks against plates. Rachel humming under her breath. Sarah asking a dozen questions between bites. Mr. Brennan, how many horses do you have? 14. Can I meet them? If your mama says it's all right. Mama, can I? Please. Emma sighed. After breakfast. And you stay right beside Mr. Brennan. No running off. I promise, Martha spoke up. The storm sounds worse. She was right. Wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Snow drove against the glass in sheets. Josiah frowned. Worse than I expected. Could go on for days. Emma's face tightened. Days, we can't impose for days. You can. And you will. Josiah's voice left no room for argument. You step outside in this, you die. All of you. Simple as that. Storm like this killed 3 families back in '79. I ain't adding 11 more to that count. But, Ma. Samuel's voice cut in. Quiet but firm. He's right. Look outside. We wouldn't make it 100 yards. Emma looked at her eldest son. Something passed between them. A silent conversation. All right, Emma said finally. But we work for our keep. I mean it, Mr. Brennan. We're not charity cases. Never said you were. Good. Then you'll let us help. Cooking, cleaning, whatever needs doing. Her chin lifted. I'm also good with horses. My father was a farrier. I grew up in his shop. Josiah raised an eyebrow. That's so. That's so. I can shoe a horse, treat basic injuries, spot colic before it gets bad. A hint of challenge crept into Emma's voice. You think because I'm a woman I can't handle a horse? I think nothing of the kind. Josiah pushed back from the table. My Ruth could outride most men in the territory, taught me half of what I know. He pulled on his coat and boots. Storm or no storm, animals need tending. You want to help, you can help. Emma stood. Martha watched the children. Ma, I want to come too. Martha. The girl subsided, but her jaw set in a way that promised future arguments. Josiah frowned at Emma's thin shawl. That all you got? I had a coat. We had to trade it for food a week back. Without a word, Josiah crossed to the hook by the door. Ruth's coat hung there, heavy wool, good stitching. He hadn't been able to give it away, hadn't been able to look at it either. He pulled it down, held it out. Emma stared at it. I can't take that. You're not taking it. You're borrowing it, unless you want to freeze before we reach the barn. Emma hesitated. Then slowly she took the coat, slipped it on. It fit her almost perfectly. Same height as Ruth, same slender frame. Josiah's chest ached. Thank you, Emma said softly. He just nodded, opened the door. The cold hit them like a physical blow. Wind screamed across the yard, driving snow sideways. Josiah grabbed Emma's arm, guided her toward the barn. They pushed through drifts that reached their knees. Inside, the howling dropped to a muffled roar. Horses shifted in their stalls, nickering at the intrusion. Emma moved immediately to the nearest stall. Her hands ran over the horse's legs, checking for heat, swelling. Her movements were confident, practiced. This one's favoring her left front, Emma said without looking up. Not serious. Probably just stiff from the cold. Josiah watched her work, the way she moved around the animal, speaking softly, keeping it calm. No fear, no hesitation. Where'd you learn to do that? My father, Thomas Reed, best farrier in Kansas, according to him. Emma smiled slightly. He wasn't wrong. Folks came from 3 counties to have him shoe their horses. He's still alive. Died when I was 16. Heart gave out. Emma moved to the next stall. Mama went a year later. Grief, the doctor said. I think she just decided living without him wasn't worth the trouble. You were on your own at 16. 17 by then. Got work as a cook on a ranch, met Thomas. Her voice softened. He was kind, gentle, made me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how. I thought I'd found my happy ending. Didn't work out that way. Does it ever? Emma finished checking the second horse. Josiah grabbed a pitchfork, started mucking out a stall. You angry at him? He asked. At who? Your husband. Silence. Then, sometimes. Emma took another pitchfork, started working beside him. Mostly I'm just tired. Tired of being strong enough for everyone. Tired of holding things together while they fall apart around me. They worked in silence for a while, the rhythm oddly companionable. Pitch, toss, repeat. Can I ask you something? Emma said finally. You can ask. Might not answer. Fair enough. She paused. Why do you have so many empty bedrooms, a house this big? It's meant for a family, not one man alone. Josiah's hands stilled on the pitchfork. Built it for them, he said roughly. Ruth and me. We planned to fill every room, wanted a big family, lots of children running around, making noise, driving us crazy. What happened? Lily's birth was hard. Doc said Ruth couldn't have any more. Josiah resumed working, movements sharp. She cried for a week. I told her it didn't matter. Told her one little girl was more than enough. Was it true? It was true. His voice cracked. She was everything. Lily was everything I ever wanted. Emma stopped working, turned to face him. Then she was taken from you. Then she was taken from me. Josiah drove the pitchfork into the hay with sudden violence. And I couldn't protect her. Wasn't here to protect her. I was off playing lawman, chasing outlaws, and they paid the price. That wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? He spun to face her. I made enemies. Dangerous men who wanted me dead. I knew the risks. Thought I could have both. The badge and the family. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. Emma held his gaze, didn't flinch. Do you really believe that your family died because you were a good man doing good work? They died because of choices I made. They died because evil men did evil things. Emma stepped closer. That's not the same. Isn't it? No. Emma's voice was gentle but relentless. You're not the first person to lose everything, Mr. Brennan. You're not even the first person to blame yourself for things beyond your control. But punishing yourself forever. She paused. It doesn't bring them back. It just kills you slower. Josiah's hands shook. No one had talked to him like this. Not once in 4 years. Everyone else tiptoed around his grief. Treated him like glass. Let him rot in his guilt because it was easier than confronting him. This woman, this stranger, had known him for less than a day, and she was tearing down walls he'd spent years building. You don't know what you're talking about, he said roughly. Maybe not. Emma turned back to her work. But I know what it looks like when someone's given up on living. I see it every time I look at you. They finished the barn work in silence. But something had shifted between them, something Josiah couldn't name, wasn't sure he wanted to. When they returned to the house, stamping snow from their boots, Samuel met them at the door. His face was pale. Ma, someone's coming. Josiah pushed past him, crossed to the window. Through the swirling snow, a rider emerged, moving hard despite the drifts, heading straight for the house. His hand moved instinctively to his hip. The gun wasn't there. He'd stopped wearing it years ago. Old habits. Stay here, he said. All of you. He grabbed his rifle from the rack, stepped onto the porch. The rider pulled up. Horse blowing hard. A man in a heavy coat, face red from cold. Sheriff Henry Cole. Josiah recognized him from town. Older now, slower, but still wearing the badge. Brennan. The sheriff tipped his hat. Didn't expect to make it through those drifts, but I got news that couldn't wait. What kind of news? There's a man in town, asking questions. Cole's eyes flicked to the house behind Josiah. Came in on yesterday's stage from Kansas, asking about a widow woman with 9 children. Name of Sullivan. Josiah's jaw tightened. What's he want with her? Claims to be family. Says he's got legal papers. Cole shifted in his saddle. Something about guardianship of the children. The door opened behind him. Emma stepped out, face white as the snow. Marcus, she breathed. Oh God, he found us. Cole looked between them. So, you know this fella? He's my husband's brother. Emma's voice shook. He doesn't want to help us. He wants my children. Why would he want? Because of the mining shares. Emma's eyes widened. Thomas's shares. They pass to his children. If Marcus controls the children, he controls the money, Josiah finished. Mrs. Sullivan. Cole's voice was careful. I'm not here to make trouble. Just thought you should know. He's been asking around town, showing a photograph. A photograph of what? The children. Cole paused. Says they were taken from their rightful guardian. Says you kidnapped them. Emma's face went white. I'm their mother. I know that. Anyone can see that. But he's got papers, ma'am. Official-looking ones. Claims a judge in Kansas granted him custody. That's impossible. Emma's voice cracked. There was never any hearing. I would have known. Maybe there was. Maybe there wasn't. Cole's voice was careful. Either way, he's here, and he's not leaving until he finds what he's looking for. Josiah stepped forward. Where's he staying? The hotel in town. But Brennan? Cole's eyes held a warning. Don't do anything stupid. You've been quiet for 4 years. Folks have started to forget you used to wear a badge. Let's keep it that way. I'm not planning anything. Good, because the last thing this town needs is the old Josiah Brennan showing up. Cole turned his horse. I've said my piece. What you do with it is your business. But that man in town. He paused. He strikes me as the type who doesn't give up easy. He rode off into the snow. Emma stood frozen on the porch. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. He can't take them. He can't. They're my children. Mine. He won't. Emma spun to face Josiah. You don't know Marcus. He's charming, persuasive. He'll convince people I'm unfit. He'll say I've been dragging them through danger, exposing them to hardship. Her voice broke. And a judge will listen to him, because he's a man with money, and I'm just a widow with nothing. Emma. She stopped, stared at him. It was the first time he'd used her name. Look at me. She met his eyes, tears streaming down her face. He's not taking your children, Josiah said quietly. I won't let that happen. How can you stop him? You don't even know us. We've been here one night. One night. Why would you? Because no child should be used as a pawn. Josiah's voice was hard. Because I've seen what happens when good people get trampled by bad ones. Because... He stopped. Because your daughters have started to feel like mine. He couldn't say it. The words were too big, too dangerous. Let's get inside, he said instead. We need to think, and you need to tell me everything about Marcus Sullivan. He held the door open for her. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Something shifted in her eyes. Fear, hope, trust beginning where trust shouldn't exist. She walked past him into the house, and Josiah Brennan realized with a clarity that terrified him that he would burn the world down before he let anyone hurt this woman and her children. The same way he should have burned it down for Ruth and Lily. The same way he'd failed to do 4 years ago. Not this time. This time, he would not fail. The kitchen felt smaller with fear crowding in. Emma sat at the table, hands folded, knuckles white. She'd sent the children upstairs with Martha and Samuel, told them it was grown-up talk. Nothing to worry about. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. Josiah poured coffee, set a cup in front of her, sat down across the table with his rifle within arm's reach. Tell me everything, he said, from the beginning. Emma took a breath, let it out slow. Thomas and Marcus were partners, equal shares in the Silver Creek mine. It was supposed to make them rich. Her voice hardened. It did make them rich, just not rich enough for Marcus. What happened? The mine hit a new vein. Biggest strike in 3 years. Suddenly those shares were worth 10 times what they'd been. Emma's hands tightened around her coffee cup. Marcus wanted to sell, cash out, move east and live like a king. Thomas didn't agree. Thomas wanted to keep mining, build something for the children, leave them a legacy. Emma's eyes burned. They argued. For weeks they argued. Then Thomas started noticing things. What kind of things? Equipment going missing, accidents that shouldn't have happened, workers getting hurt. Emma paused. Thomas kept a journal, wrote everything down. Dates, times, what he suspected. He suspected Marcus. He knew it was Marcus. He just couldn't prove it. Emma's voice dropped. And then the cave-in happened. Josiah waited. They said it was an accident. Faulty support beams. Bad luck. Emma's jaw tightened. But Thomas had inspected those beams himself the day before. They were fine. Someone sabotaged them. You have proof. I have Thomas's journal. The last entry... Her voice cracked. The last entry says he was going to confront Marcus. That night. After the children were asleep. Josiah's blood ran cold. He never came home. They found his body in the rubble the next morning. Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Marcus stood at the funeral and cried, talked about how much he loved his brother, how he'd take care of us. But he didn't mean it. He meant it. Emma's voice was bitter. He meant he'd take care of us the same way he took care of Thomas, make us disappear, make the shares his. Why didn't you go to the law? I did. Sheriff in our town owed Marcus money. Half the town owed Marcus money. Emma laughed, a hollow, broken sound. He told me grief was making me hysterical. Told me to go home and rest. Let Marcus handle the business affairs. So you ran. I packed what I could carry, took the children, left in the middle of the night. Emma met his eyes. We've been running for 3 months. He's found us 4 times. Each time we barely escaped. Josiah processed this. A woman with 9 children, fleeing a murderer, crossing half the frontier in winter. The journal, he said. Where is it? Emma hesitated. Emma, if we're going to fight him, I need to know. She stood, crossed to the corner where her ragged bag sat, reached inside the lining and pulled out a small leather book. I sewed a hidden pocket, kept it with me every moment. She handed it to Josiah. It's all there. Every suspicion Thomas had. Every piece of evidence. Josiah opened the journal, read the careful handwriting, dates, names, dollar amounts, a timeline of sabotage that led straight to Marcus Sullivan. This is enough to hang him. Maybe, if I could get it to the right people, if anyone would believe a widow over a wealthy businessman. Emma's voice was tired. Marcus knows I have it. That's why he needs the children. If he gets custody, he gets control. He can destroy the journal, bury the truth, and no one will ever know what really happened to Thomas. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm still raged. He won't get them, Josiah said quietly. You keep saying that, but how? Emma's voice rose. He has money, lawyers, fake custody papers. What do we have? We have me. Emma stared at him. I spent 10 years as a Texas Ranger. I know people, lawyers, judges, men who owe me favors. Josiah's jaw set. Marcus Sullivan isn't the only one with connections. You've been hiding in this house for 4 years. Those connections are still there. Josiah's eyes met hers. A man doesn't spend a decade putting criminals away without making friends in useful places. Real friends, the kind who remember. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Really? Why? Josiah looked at the journal in his hands, at the evidence of a man murdered for greed, at the desperate hope in a widow's eyes. Because I couldn't save my family, he said roughly. But maybe I can save yours. The words hung between them. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. Thank you, she said softly. Whatever happens, thank you. Before Josiah could respond, footsteps thundered down the stairs. Samuel burst into the kitchen, face pale, eyes wild. There's someone outside, coming through the snow. It's not the sheriff. Josiah was on his feet in an instant, rifle in hand. Stay here. Keep the children away from the windows. He moved to the door, cracked it open. A figure emerged from the blizzard. Not on horseback this time, on foot, fighting through the drifts with grim determination. Josiah raised his rifle. That's far enough? The figure stopped, pushed back his snow-covered hat. Marcus Sullivan was handsome. Even Josiah had to admit that, clean-shaven, well-dressed despite the weather. The kind of man who made people trust him on sight. Mr. Brennan, I presume. Marcus's voice was smooth, cultured. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but I couldn't wait any longer. You're trespassing. I'm looking for my family. Marcus spread his hands. Surely you understand. My brother's widow and children. They've been missing for months. I've been sick with worry. They're not missing. They're right where they want to be. Ah. Marcus's smile didn't waver. So they are here. I thought as much when I saw the sheriff heading this direction. He took a step forward. May I come inside? It's rather cold. I said that's far enough. Marcus stopped. Something flickered behind his eyes. The charm cracked. Just for a second. Mr. Brennan, I don't know what Emma has told you, but she's not well. The grief of losing Thomas, it's affected her mind. She's made accusations, terrible accusations. None of them true. I've seen the journal. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. His composure shattered. The charming mask fell away. Underneath was something cold, calculating, dangerous. Whatever's in that journal is lies. Thomas was confused, paranoid. He didn't know what he was writing. He knew exactly what he was writing. Josiah's finger tightened on the trigger. He knew his brother was sabotaging the mine, knew you were going to kill him, wrote it all down so someone would find the truth. Marcus's face twisted. You don't know what you're dealing with. I know a murderer when I see one. I have custody papers, a judge's signature, legal authority. A judge in Kansas. This is Wyoming. Josiah's voice was flat. Your papers don't mean anything here. They will. When I explain to the local authorities that a deranged widow kidnapped her own children, get off my land. Marcus stared at him. The charm was completely gone now. Nothing left but the predator underneath. This isn't over, Mr. Brennan. Those children are mine by law. That woman is spreading lies about me. And you... His eyes narrowed. You're interfering in family business that doesn't concern you. Those children are going to stay right where they are. We'll see about that. Marcus straightened his coat. I'll be back, with proper authority, and armed men if necessary. He turned, started walking back through the snow, then stopped, looked over his shoulder. Oh, and Mr. Brennan, I've heard about you. The ranger who lost his family. The man who's been hiding in this house for 4 years. Marcus smiled, cold, cruel. I wonder what your dead wife would think if she could see you now, playing house with another woman's children. Josiah's blood turned to ice. Get off my land. Marcus laughed, a sound that held no warmth. Enjoy your time playing hero. It won't last. He disappeared into the storm. Josiah stood on the porch, rifle still raised, heart pounding against his ribs. The door opened behind him. Emma stepped out, face pale as death. I heard everything. You should have stayed inside. I needed to know. Her voice trembled. He won't give up. You heard him. He'll come back with lawyers, with men, with... Let him. Emma grabbed his arm, pulled him around to face her. Josiah, listen to me. He killed his own brother. He'll kill you too, without hesitation, without remorse. He can try. This isn't a joke. Emma's voice cracked. I've already lost Thomas. I can't... She stopped, breathed. I won't let you die for us. We'll leave, tonight, before he can... You're not going anywhere. You can't stop me. In this storm with 9 children. Josiah's voice softened. You'd be dead before morning. All of you. Is that what you want? Emma's shoulders sagged. I don't know what I want anymore. I just want my children safe. Then trust me. I barely know you. You know enough. Josiah reached out, took her hands in his. You know I opened my door to strangers in a blizzard. You know I haven't turned you over to Marcus despite having every reason to. You know I'm standing here in the cold with a rifle ready to fight a man I've never met for a family that isn't mine. Emma stared at him. Why? She whispered. Why do you care so much? Because... The words stuck in his throat. Because your daughters remind me of Lily. Because your strength reminds me of Ruth. Because for the first time in 4 years, I feel like I have something worth protecting. Because it's the right thing to do, he said finally. And I've been doing the wrong thing for too long. Emma's eyes searched his face. Then she did something unexpected. She stepped forward, rose on her toes, pressed a kiss to his cheek. Soft, brief, a promise of something more. "Thank you," she whispered. "Whatever happens next, thank you." She went back inside. Josiah stood alone on the porch, the cold forgotten, the storm forgotten, everything forgotten except the warmth of her lips against his skin. He touched his cheek. His hand was shaking. 2 hours later, the storm finally began to ease. Josiah sat at the kitchen table, cleaning his rifle, checking his ammunition, preparing for war. Emma had put the children to bed. Samuel had insisted on standing watch at the windows. Martha had demanded to know what was happening. "There's a bad man who wants to hurt us," Emma had said simply. "But Mr. Brennan is going to protect us." "How do you know?" Martha's voice was sharp, suspicious. "How do you know he won't just hand us over?" "Because I trust him." Martha had stared at her mother, something flickering in her eyes. "You trusted Papa too. Look where that got us." Emma had flinched like she'd been slapped. Now the house was quiet, children sleeping, fear lurking in every shadow. Josiah heard footsteps on the stairs. Light, hesitant. He looked up. Leah stood in the doorway. Lily's doll clutched against her chest, those green eyes wide with fear. "Mr. Horseman." "What are you doing up, little miss? It's late." "I can't sleep." Leah padded toward him, bare feet on the cold floor. There was shouting. Before, outside. Was it the bad man? Josiah set down his rifle, lifted her onto his lap. "You heard that? Samuel said the bad man wants to take us away." Leah's lower lip trembled. "Is he going to take us away from Mama?" "No." "Promise?" "I promise." Leah studied his face, searching for the lie, finding nothing but a man who meant every word. "Okay." She snuggled against his chest. The doll pressed between them. "You're warm, Mr. Horseman, and safe. I like safe." Josiah's arms tightened around her. 4 years old, asking about bad men who wanted to steal her from her mother. No child should have to ask questions like that. No child should have to be afraid. "Tell me a story," Leah murmured. "Mama tells stories when I can't sleep. Stories about horses and cowboys and happy endings." "I don't know many happy endings, little miss." "Then make one up." Leah yawned. "Make up a story where everyone's safe and nobody dies and families stay together forever." Josiah's throat closed. "Once upon a time," he began slowly, "there was a cowboy who lived all alone. He'd lost everything he loved, thought he'd never be happy again." "That's sad," Leah mumbled. It was sad. But then one night during the biggest storm of the year there was a knock on his door. Who was it? A mother, with 9 children. They were cold and hungry and scared, but the cowboy let them in. Because he was nice. Because he was nice, even though he'd forgotten how to be. Leah's eyes were closing, her breathing slowing. "What happened next?" she whispered. Josiah looked down at the child in his arms, at her small hands clutching Lily's doll, at her green eyes, Ruth's eyes fighting sleep. "The cowboy realized something," he said softly. "He realized that family isn't just about blood, it's about who you choose to protect, who you choose to love." "Did he live happily ever after?" "I don't know yet, little miss." Josiah's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I reckon we'll have to wait and see." But Leah was already asleep. He held her for a long time, listening to her breathe, feeling her small heart beat against his chest. Finally, he carried her upstairs, laid her in Lily's bed, pulled the blankets up to her chin. Emma stood in the doorway, watching. "You're good with her," she said quietly. She reminds me of Lily. I know. Emma crossed to the bed, brushed hair from her daughter's face. She has that same fearlessness, same trust in the world. The world doesn't deserve that trust. Maybe not, but she gives it anyway. Emma straightened. That's what children do. They trust, and we either earn it or we break it. She looked at him. Marcus broke it. For Samuel. For Martha. For all of them. He made them afraid of the world. I won't let him hurt them. I know. Emma's voice was soft. That's why I'm going to ask you something. Something I have no right to ask. Josiah waited. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever Marcus does. Emma's eyes met his. Promise me you'll keep them safe, even if something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me. The intensity in her voice stopped his protest. I promise, he said quietly. Emma nodded. Something eased in her face. I've been running so long, fighting so long, doing this alone because there was no one else. She paused. It feels strange, having someone stand beside me. Get used to it. Emma almost smiled. Good night, Josiah. Good night, Emma. She disappeared down the hall. Josiah stood in the doorway of Lily's room, watching Leah sleep in his daughter's bed, holding his daughter's doll. Something was happening to him, something he didn't understand, didn't know how to name. 4 years of walls, 4 years of keeping everyone out, 4 years of telling himself he'd never care about anyone again, all of it crumbling. One child at a time, one moment at a time. He touched the doorframe. The wood worn smooth by Ruth's hands, by Lily's hands. I don't know what I'm doing, he whispered to the empty room. To Ruth. To Lily. To whoever might be listening. But I can't lose them too. I just can't. No answer came. But somewhere deep in his chest, ice continued to melt, and Josiah Brennan realized with a clarity that terrified him that he was falling in love with a family that wasn't his. Dawn broke cold and clear. Josiah hadn't slept. He'd spent the night at the kitchen table, rifle across his lap, full across his kidney, watching, waiting. Every creak of the house made his hand tighten on the trigger. Marcus Sullivan was out there somewhere, planning, scheming, getting ready to strike. The question was when, and how. Emma came downstairs first, dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept either. Coffee's hot, Josiah said. She poured a cup, sat across from him. Their knees almost touched under the table. I've been thinking, she said quietly, about what you said, about having connections. And I think there's a faster way to end this. Josiah set down his coffee. I'm listening. The journal. If we can get it to the right people, a federal marshal maybe, or a judge who isn't in Marcus's pocket. Emma's voice steadied. It's enough to charge him with murder, enough to put him in prison, enough to end this for good. You want to go public. I want to stop running. Emma's jaw tightened. I'm tired of hiding, tired of looking over my shoulder. My children deserve better than a life of fear. Going public means Marcus will know exactly where you are, what you have. He'll come after you with everything. He's already coming. At least this way we fight back. Josiah studied her face, the determination burning in her eyes, the steel in her spine. All right, he said. There's a federal marshal in Helena, man named Jack Crawford. We served together during the Indian Wars. He owes me his life. Can you reach him? I can try. Telegraph office in town, if the lines aren't down from the storm. Then let's do it. Today, before Marcus can make his move. Josiah nodded, stood. I'll ride into town, send the message, see what I can find out about Marcus's movements. I'm coming with you. No. You're staying here with the children. Josiah. If Marcus knows I'm gone, he might try something. Someone needs to be here. Someone who can fight. Josiah pulled on his coat. Samuel's good, but he's 14. He shouldn't have to protect 9 people alone. Emma's jaw worked, but she didn't argue. Take the journal, she said. If something happens, if you don't come back, I'm coming back. Take it anyway. She pressed the leather book into his hands. Crawford needs to see it, the original, not just my word. Josiah tucked the journal inside his coat, close to his heart. I'll be back before nightfall. Promise me. I promise. He headed for the door, then stopped, turned back. Emma. She looked up at him. If Marcus comes while I'm gone, I know how to use a rifle, Josiah. That's not what I was going to say. He crossed back to her, took her hands in his. If he comes and things go bad, you take the children and you run. You hear me? Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to fight. Just get them out. I'm not leaving without you. You'll do whatever it takes to keep those children safe. His grip tightened. That's what matters. That's the only thing that matters. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Come back to us, she whispered. Please, come back. Josiah reached up, brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Nothing in this world could keep me away. He left before he could say anything else. Before he could do something foolish, like kiss her. The ride into town took 2 hours. Snow still covered the roads, but his horse knew the way. Josiah pushed hard. Every minute he was gone was a minute Marcus could strike. Copper Falls looked different than he remembered. Smaller, quieter. 4 years of avoiding people had made him forget what a town looked like. The telegraph office sat at the end of Main Street. Josiah tied his horse and went inside. Help you? The operator barely looked up. Need to send a message. Helena. Federal Marshal Jack Crawford. That got the operator's attention. Federal Marshal. What kind of trouble you in, mister? The kind that's none of your business. Josiah slapped coins on the counter. Just send the message. He dictated the telegram. Quick, coded. The kind of language only old rangers would understand. Crawford, stop, need your help. Stop, have evidence of murder. Stop, suspect in Copper Falls. Stop, come quick. Stop, Brennan. That'll go out within the hour, the operator said. Reply might take a while. Lines are spotty after the storm. I'll wait. Josiah stepped outside. Lit a cigarette he didn't really want. Just needed something to do with his hands. That's when he saw him. Marcus Sullivan stood across the street, watching, smiling that cold, charming smile. He tipped his hat. Mr. Brennan, fancy meeting you here. Josiah's hand moved to his gun. Easy now. Marcus held up his hands. I'm just making conversation. No need for violence. Stay away from me, and stay away from that family. That family? Marcus laughed. You mean my family? My brother's widow? My brother's children? My responsibility? They're not your anything. The law says differently. Marcus reached into his coat, slowly, deliberately, pulled out a folded paper. Judge Harrison of Kansas, granting me full custody of Thomas Sullivan's minor children. Signed, sealed, legal. That paper isn't worth the ink it's written with. Perhaps, perhaps not. Marcus tucked the paper away. But it's enough to make Sheriff Cole uncomfortable. Enough to make people ask questions. Enough to make them wonder what kind of man takes in a stranger's wife and 9 children after knowing them for 2 days. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. Marcus's smile widened. I'm just saying it looks inappropriate. A widow, a widower, alone on a ranch, with 9 impressionable children watching. Josiah's blood boiled. You're a snake. I'm a businessman. There's a difference. Marcus stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Brennan. You're going to go back to your ranch. You're going to tell Emma that the game is over, and you're going to hand over those children to their rightful guardian. Or what? Or I'll destroy you. Marcus's voice dropped. All charm gone. Pure venom underneath. I know people too, Mr. Brennan. I know about the fire that killed your family. I know about the men you hunted down afterward. The things you did to them. Josiah went cold. You tortured them. Beat confessions out of them. Killed at least 2 without trial. Marcus leaned in. That's not justice. That's murder. And I have witnesses willing to testify. Those men killed my wife, my daughter. And you killed them. Which makes us the same, doesn't it? Marcus smiled. 2 killers, playing house with the same woman's children. Josiah's fist clenched. The difference is I can prove what you did. Marcus stepped back. Give me the children, or I'll make sure you hang for what happened 4 years ago. He turned, started walking away, then stopped. Oh, and Mr. Brennan, don't bother waiting for your telegraph reply. I had a chat with the operator yesterday. Nice man, very cooperative, for the right price. Marcus disappeared around a corner. Josiah stood frozen on the boardwalk, his whole body shaking with rage. The operator. Marcus had bought the operator, which meant the message to Crawford might never get sent at all. He burst back into the telegraph office. That message I gave you, did you send it? The operator's face went pale. I'm sorry, mister. I can't. Did you send it? Silence. Guilt written across every line of the man's face. He paid you. Josiah grabbed the man by his collar, lifted him halfway over the counter. He paid you to intercept my messages. He said he was family, said you were interfering with legal custody. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Josiah threw him back. Send the message, now, or I'll burn this building down with you inside it. The operator scrambled for his equipment, hands shaking. It's sending, I swear. Josiah watched until the message went through. Watched until he got confirmation that Helena had received it. Then he rode hard for home. The ranch came into view as the sun started to set. Something was wrong. He could feel it. That old instinct from his ranger days. The sense of danger that had saved his life 100 times. He pushed his horse harder. The front door hung open. Josiah threw himself from the saddle, drew his gun, ran for the house. Emma. Silence. He burst through the door. The kitchen was in chaos. Chairs overturned. Dishes shattered on the floor. Signs of struggle everywhere. Emma. A sound from upstairs. Crying. Small and terrified. He took the stairs 3 at a time. Martha stood in the hallway, rifle in her hands, shaking so hard she could barely hold it. Mr. Brennan. Thank God. Thank God. Where is everyone? Where's your mother? He took her. Martha's voice cracked. The bad man. He came with other men. Mama told us to hide, told us to stay quiet. But they found her, and they... How long ago? An hour. Maybe 2. I don't know. The children. Are the children safe? Martha nodded, tears streaming down her face. I hid them. In the cellar. The way Mama told me. But she... A sob tore from her throat. She fought them, Mr. Brennan. She fought so hard. But there were too many. Josiah gripped her shoulders. Listen to me. I need you to be strong. Can you do that? Can you be strong for a little while longer? Martha nodded, wiped her face, that fierce determination flickering in her eyes. Get the children, all of them. Bring them to the kitchen. Can you do that? Yes. Good girl. Martha ran for the cellar door. Josiah stood in the hallway, mind racing, heart pounding. Marcus had taken Emma, had men with him, was probably already on his way back to town with his evidence of her unfitness as a mother, but he'd left the children behind. Why? Because he wanted Josiah to bring them, wanted Josiah to surrender, wanted to prove that he'd won. Think. The journal. Josiah still had the journal. Marcus didn't know that. The children gathered in the kitchen. 9 frightened faces, looking to him for answers. Samuel stepped forward, face pale, jaw set. "What do we do, sir?" Josiah looked at this 14-year-old boy who'd been trying so hard to be the man of the family, who'd been carrying a burden no child should carry. "We get your mother back." "How?" "I have a plan." Josiah knelt to the children's level, all of them, even baby Ruth held in Martha's arms. "But I need your help, all of you. Can you be brave for me?" Leah stepped forward, those green eyes burning with determination. "We can be brave, Mr. Horseman. Mama says brave isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing the right thing anyway." Josiah's throat tightened. "Your mama is a smart woman." "I know." Leah lifted her chin. "And we're gonna save her." They rode into town as darkness fell. Josiah had left the younger children with Doc Whitmore. The woman had taken one look at his face and asked no questions, just gathered the little ones into her home with gentle hands and fierce eyes. "You bring their mother back," she'd said quietly. "Whatever it takes." "Yes, ma'am." Now it was just Josiah, Samuel, and Martha. 3 against however many men Marcus had brought. Not good odds. But Josiah had faced worse. The hotel sat in the center of town. Josiah could see lamps burning in the upstairs windows, shadows moving behind the curtains. "Stay here," he told the children. "No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, stay hidden." "What are you going to do?" Samuel's voice was steady, brave. "I'm going to get your mother." Josiah walked toward the hotel, each step deliberate, each breath measured. The door opened before he reached it. Marcus stood in the entrance, that cold smile on his face. "Mr. Brennan, I wondered when you'd come crawling. Where is she?" "Safe, for now." Marcus stepped aside, gestured inside. "Please, let's discuss this like civilized men." Josiah walked into the hotel. Emma sat in a chair near the fireplace, hands bound, face bruised, but alive. And when she saw Josiah, something blazed in her eyes. Hope. Well. Marcus closed the door. 2 men with guns stood on either side. "The hero arrives. How touching." "Let her go." "I don't think so." Marcus circled around them, enjoying himself. "You see, I've had time to think about what happens next, about how this ends. It ends with you in prison." "Does it?" Marcus laughed. "With what evidence? The journal." He held up his hand. "I'll be taking that, by the way, along with the children, and anything else that might connect me to Thomas's unfortunate accident. I don't have the journal." "The liar." Marcus's smile faltered. "Emma told me you took it, this morning, before you left for town." "She lied." Silence. Marcus looked at Emma, back at Josiah. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Josiah stepped forward. "Search me. Go ahead. You won't find it." Marcus gestured to his men. They grabbed Josiah, patted him down, tore open his coat. Nothing. "Where is it?" Marcus's voice rose. "Where's the journal?" "Somewhere you'll never find it." Josiah's eyes met Emma's. "I sent it ahead. To Helena. To a federal marshal I've known for 20 years. Emma's face showed nothing. Perfect control. Perfect trust. "You're lying." But doubt crept into Marcus's voice. "By now, Jack Crawford has read every word your brother wrote, every accusation, every piece of evidence." Josiah smiled, cold, hard. "It's over, Marcus. You lost." "I haven't lost anything." Marcus grabbed Emma's hair, yanked her head back. I have her. I have the children. I have... You have nothing. The voice came from the door. Sheriff Cole stood in the entrance, badge gleaming, hand on his gun, and behind him, a tall man in a federal marshal's coat, Jack Crawford. Marcus Sullivan, Crawford said quietly. You're under arrest for the murder of Thomas Sullivan, and anything else we can think of between here and the gallows. Marcus's face went white. You can't, I have rights. I have lawyers, You have the right to remain silent. Crawford stepped forward. I suggest you use it. Marcus reached for Emma, tried to use her as a shield. Josiah moved. Faster than he'd moved in years. Faster than he'd thought possible. He grabbed Marcus's arm, twisted, slammed him against the wall. Don't touch her. Marcus crumpled. Crawford's men swarmed in, took Marcus into custody, disarmed his hired guns. Josiah didn't see any of it. He was already at Emma's side, cutting her bonds, pulling her into his arms. Are you hurt? Did he? I'm fine. Emma's voice broke. Josiah, you came. I promised. She was crying, laughing, shaking in his arms. You promised? She repeated. And you kept it. He held her, just held her, feeling her heart beat against his chest, feeling her breathe, alive, safe, his. The children, she gasped. Where are... Safe, with Doc Whitmore. All of them. Emma sagged against him. It's over. It's over. She pulled back, looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. How did Crawford get here so fast? The telegraph? I sent the message myself, made sure it went through. Josiah smiled. And I may have told Crawford that a woman I care about was in danger. He rode through the night. A woman you care about. The words hung between them. Josiah reached up, cupped her face in his hands. Emma Sullivan, I've known you for 3 days. And in those 3 days, you've broken down every wall I spent 4 years building. Is that a good thing? It's terrifying. He brushed the tears from her cheek. And it's the best thing that's happened to me since I lost Ruth and Lily. Emma's breath caught. Josiah. I know it's too soon. I know you're still grieving. I know we barely know each other. He paused. But I also know I'd tear the world apart for you and those children. And I think that means something. Emma stared at him, those fierce, beautiful eyes searching his face. Then she did something he never expected. She kissed him. Not soft, not tentative, but desperate and fierce and full of everything they'd been holding back. Josiah kissed her back, held her close, let himself feel something he thought he'd never feel again. Hope. When they finally broke apart, Emma was laughing through her tears. That's my answer, she whispered. In case you were wondering. Answer to what? To whatever question you're about to ask. She touched his face. The answer is yes. The ride back to Doc Whitmore's house felt longer than any journey Josiah had ever made. Emma sat in front of him on the horse, her back pressed against his chest, his arms around her waist. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them needed to. Behind them, Samuel and Martha rode the second horse, their faces still pale from fear. But something else shone in their eyes now. Relief. Hope. The beginning of peace. Doc Whitmore's door flew open before they reached the porch. Mama! Leah burst out first, bare feet on the cold ground, arms reaching, face streaked with dried tears. Emma slid from the horse and caught her daughter in one motion, lifting her, holding her, pressing kisses to her tangled hair. I'm here, baby. I'm here. Mama's here. The other children poured out behind Leah, Sarah and Rebecca, Hannah and Rachel, little Miriam toddling on unsteady legs, baby Ruth crying in Doc Whitmore's arms. They crashed into Emma like waves against a shore. All of them. Clinging, crying, making sure she was real. "Don't ever go away again, Mama." "I won't, sweetheart. I promise." The bad man. The bad man is gone. He can never hurt us again. Josiah hung back, watching. This moment belonged to them, mother and children, a family reunited. But Leah pulled away from the group, crossed to where Josiah stood. She reached up with both arms. "Up, please, Mr. Horseman." He lifted her onto his hip. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pressed her face against his shoulder. "You saved Mama," she whispered. "You promised and you did it." "I did, little miss. Does that mean you're gonna stay?" Josiah looked at Emma over her daughter's head. Those fierce eyes met his, softened, warmed. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I reckon I'm gonna stay." Leah squeezed him tighter. "Good. Because I like you. And Buttercup says she likes you too." Buttercup was what she'd named Lily's doll. Josiah hadn't corrected her. Somehow it felt right. "I like you too, little miss. Both of you." They returned to the ranch that night, 11 people in a house built for 12. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full, overflowing, alive. Emma put the children to bed. One by one, kisses on foreheads, whispered promises that everything was safe now, that the running was finally over. Josiah sat at the kitchen table, same chair, same spot, but nothing else was the same. Emma came downstairs. Exhaustion lined her face, but something else shone through it. Peace. "They're all asleep," she said. "Finally. Took some convincing." "I imagine so." She sat across from him. Their knees touched under the table. Neither of them moved away. "Crawford said the trial will be in Helena, 3 months from now." Emma's voice was steady. "He'll need me to testify, about Thomas, about the journal, about everything Marcus did. I'll go with you." "You don't have to." "I'll go with you," Josiah repeated. "Every step, whatever you need." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. "I still can't believe it's over. After 3 months of running, of hiding, of being so scared all the time." She shook her head. "It doesn't feel real." "It's real." "I know. I just—" She stopped, breathed. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for Marcus to appear again, for everything to fall apart." Josiah reached across the table, took her hands in his. "Emma, look at me." She met his eyes. "Marcus Sullivan is in a cell. He's going to stay there until they hang him for what he did to Thomas. Your children are safe. You're safe." He squeezed her hands. "The running is over. You can rest now." A single tear slipped down her cheek. "I don't know how to rest. I've been fighting for so long. I don't remember what peace feels like." "Then let me show you." Emma stared at him. Something shifted in her face. The walls she'd built, the armor she'd worn, all of it crumbling away. "What are we doing, Josiah?" she whispered. "You and me. What is this?" "I don't know." His voice was honest, raw. "I just know I don't want it to stop. We've known each other 4 days. 4 days that changed everything." Emma laughed, a wet, broken sound. "I swore I'd never depend on a man again, not after Thomas, not after everything that happened." "You're not depending on me. We're depending on each other." Josiah paused. "There's a difference." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, walked around the table, sat down beside him, close enough to touch. "Tell me about Ruth," she said softly. "Really tell me. Not just how she died. Tell me how she lived." Josiah's chest tightened. "Why?" "Because she was part of you. She still is." Emma's eyes held his. And if I'm going to love you, if this is going to become what I think it's becoming, I want to know all of you, even the parts that still hurt. If I'm going to love you. The words hung between them like a promise. Josiah took a breath, let it out slow. She was the strongest woman I ever knew, until I met you. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. She grew up on a ranch in Texas, could rope a calf before she could read. Her daddy used to say she was born knowing how to ride. How did you meet? Church social. Same as everyone else back then. Josiah's voice softened. I was 22. Thought I knew everything. Then this girl walked in with fire in her eyes, and I realized I didn't know anything at all. Emma smiled. Love at first sight. Something like that. Took me 6 months to work up the courage to speak to her. Another year to convince her I was worth her time. He paused. She made me work for it, every step of the way. She said she wanted a man who wouldn't give up, who'd fight for her even when it was hard. And you did. I did. Married her when I was 24. Had Lily when we were 26. His voice cracked. 10 years. We had 10 years together. And I wasted so many of them chasing outlaws instead of being home. You were doing important work. I was running away. The admission cost him. Ruth saw it, called me out on it more than once. Said I was using the badge as an excuse to avoid being present, being real. He shook his head. She was right. She was always right. What happened the night of the fire? Josiah's hands tightened into fists. I was 40 miles away, tracking a gang that had robbed the bank in Abilene. One of them, man named Cole Younger, he knew who I was, knew where I lived. His voice hardened. He sent 2 men to my ranch while I was chasing him. They set the fire while Ruth and Lily were sleeping. He stopped, breathed. By the time I got home, there was nothing left. Emma's hand found his, squeezed. I'm so sorry. I hunted them down. Took me 2 years. Found every single one. Josiah's eyes went cold. Made them pay. And it didn't matter. Didn't bring them back. Didn't fill the hole they left. So you came here. So I came here. Built this house. Filled it with empty rooms and ghosts. Told myself I'd never let anyone close again. He looked at her. Then you knocked on my door. Emma's eyes shimmered. Josiah, I'm not asking you to replace Ruth. Nobody could. Just like nobody could replace Thomas. He cupped her face in his hands. But I'm asking you to give me a chance, to let me be part of whatever comes next. What exactly are you asking? The question hung between them. Josiah took a breath, knew he was about to change everything. Marry me. Emma went still. What? Marry me. Not because of legal papers or protection or anything practical. His voice dropped. Marry me because I love you, because I love your children. Because this house has been waiting for a family, and you're the family I want. You love me. I love you. God help me. I've loved you since you stood on my porch with 9 starving children and more courage than any person I've ever met. Emma stared at him, tears streaming down her face now, no longer trying to hold them back. We've known each other 4 days, Josiah. 4 days. 4 years. What difference does it make? He brushed tears from her cheeks. I spent 4 years dying in this house, waiting to die, hoping to die. Then you came along and made me want to live again. That's worth more than time. Emma laughed through her tears. You're insane. Probably. This is crazy. Probably. I have 9 children. I noticed. 9 Josiah. 9 children who need stability and security and a father. The word stopped her cold. They need a father, Josiah said quietly. And I need a family. So maybe we're not crazy. Maybe we're just finding each other. Emma was silent for a long moment. Then she kissed him. Soft this time. tender, a promise instead of the question. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll stay. Yes to all of it." She laughed again, wiped her face. "But we're telling the children together, and if they say no, they won't say no." "How do you know?" "Because Leah already asked if I was going to stay. And when I said yes, she hugged me like I'd just given her the moon." Emma's face softened. "She calls you Mr. Horseman." "I know. It's growing on me." The next morning they told the children. Josiah had never been more nervous in his life. Not facing down outlaws. Not hunting murderers through 3 territories. Nothing compared to standing in front of 9 children and asking them to accept him as their father. Emma gathered them in the kitchen. All of them. From Samuel down to baby Ruth. 11 places at a table that finally felt complete. "We have something to tell you," Emma said. "Something important." Martha's eyes narrowed. "What kind of important?" "The good kind." Emma took Josiah's hand. "Mr. Brennan has asked me to marry him, and I said yes." Silence. Josiah's heart pounded. Then Leah jumped up from her chair. "I knew it! I knew it!" She ran to Josiah, threw her arms around his waist. "Buttercup said you were going to stay forever. She was right." Rachel followed her sister, then Sarah, then Rebecca. One by one, the younger children surrounded Josiah, hugging, laughing, asking questions faster than he could answer. "Does this mean you're our papa now? Can we call you papa? Are we going to live here forever? Will you teach me to ride horses?" Josiah looked up at Emma, helpless, overwhelmed, happier than he'd been in 4 years. She was crying again, but smiling through the tears. Samuel stood, crossed to Josiah, held out his hand. "Sir." Josiah shook it, man to man. "I want you to know," Samuel said quietly, "that I didn't trust you at first. Didn't trust anyone. But you saved my mother. You protected my family. You kept your word." He paused. "I'd be proud to call you Pa." Josiah's throat closed. "I'd be proud to have you call me that." Only Martha remained seated, arms crossed, face guarded. Emma looked at her. "Martha, what do you think?" The 12-year-old was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, walked to Josiah, looked up at him with those fierce, suspicious eyes. "If you ever hurt my mother," she said quietly, "I'll make you regret it." I would expect nothing less. Martha's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Then I guess you can stay." She hugged him, brief, awkward, but real. Josiah held her close for just a moment. This angry, protective girl who reminded him so much of himself. "I'm not going anywhere," he promised. "Not ever." The wedding was simple. Pastor Brooks performed the ceremony in the same church where he'd buried Ruth and Lily 4 years ago. The same church where Josiah had stopped believing in anything good. Now he stood at the altar with Emma beside him. 9 children crowded into the front pews. Doc Whitmore and Sheriff Cole stood as witnesses. "Do you, Josiah Brennan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Emma Sullivan, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife." Josiah kissed his bride. The children cheered. Doc Whitmore wiped her eyes. Sheriff Cole grinned like he'd won a poker game. And somewhere, somehow, Josiah could have sworn he felt Ruth smiling. "It's about time," she seemed to say. "Took you long enough." That night they gathered around the kitchen table, 12 places set, 12 chairs filled, a family forged from grief and hope and the stubborn refusal to give up. "I want to do something," Josiah said. "A tradition, something Ruth and I used to do." "What kind of tradition?" Samuel asked. "We go around the table. Everyone says what they're thankful for." Leah's hand shot up. Can I go first? Please, I have a lot. Go ahead, little miss. I'm thankful for horses and Buttercup and that we don't have to walk in the snow anymore. And food. There's so much food. She grinned. And Mama and all my sisters and Samuel and... She paused dramatically. Papa Josiah. Papa Josiah. The name hit him like a wave, knocked the breath from his lungs, filled his eyes with tears he didn't try to hide. That's quite a list, Emma said softly. I'm a thankful person. They went around the table, each child sharing what they were grateful for: safety, warmth, family, home. When it reached Martha, she hesitated. I'm thankful, she said slowly, that Mama found someone who keeps his promises, that we finally have a place where we belong. She looked at Josiah. And I'm thankful for second chances, even when we don't deserve them. Emma's turn came. I'm thankful for my children, for their strength, their courage, their ability to find joy even in the darkest times. Her eyes found Josiah's. And I'm thankful for a man who opened his door to strangers, who saw people in need and chose to help, who gave us a home when we had nothing. Josiah's chest ached. Your turn, Papa Josiah, Leah prompted. He looked around the table, at these 11 people who'd crashed into his life and changed everything, at the woman who'd become his wife, at the children who'd become his own. I'm thankful, he said slowly, for a knock on the door, for the courage it took to answer it. His voice broke. For a family I thought I'd never have again, for love I thought I'd never feel, for hope I thought was gone forever. He reached out, took Emma's hand, felt the children's eyes on him. I'm thankful, he finished quietly, for all of you. Silence fell. Then Leah raised her glass of milk. To family, she announced. To family, they echoed. 11 glasses clinked together in the lamplight. After dinner, after dishes, after the children were tucked into bed with stories and songs, Josiah stood on the porch, looking out at the snow-covered land, at the stars blazing overhead, at the life he never expected to have again. Emma came up beside him, slipped her hand into his. What are you thinking about? Ruth. Lily. He paused. Whether they'd approve. Do you think they would? Josiah was quiet for a long moment. Ruth used to say that love wasn't meant to be hoarded, that the more you gave, the more you had. He looked at Emma. I think she'd be glad. Glad I stopped dying. Glad I let myself live again. And Lily. Lily would have loved having 9 sisters and a brother. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. She always wanted siblings. I think she'd be jealous honestly, jealous and happy all at once. Emma leaned her head against his shoulder. Tell me it's going to be okay, she whispered. Tell me we're going to make it. We're going to make it. How do you know? Because I spent 4 years dying and you taught me how to live again. Because your children gave me a reason to get up in the morning. Because... He turned to face her, cupped her face in his hands. Because I love you, Emma Brennan, and I'm never letting you go. She kissed him, soft and sure and full of promise. I love you too, she whispered against his lips. Mr. Horseman. He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in 4 years, and somewhere in the house a child started singing, a nonsense song, half words and made-up melodies, the way children sang when they felt safe enough to make noise. Josiah held his wife close, listened to the music drifting from the windows. His house wasn't empty anymore. His heart wasn't empty anymore. He'd been given a second chance, a family, a future. And this time, Josiah Brennan wasn't going to waste a single moment. The man who had spent 4 years dying finally remembered how to live.